yeah, if it's just a little bit of fun pursuit and you've got things under control, it can be fun. But I do worry that other people can fall into the traps that I did, and not realise until it's too late. So, I mean, I did end up with big debts. I thankfully, as part of my conversation with Sharon, part of that was about getting help to address my debts, my mounting debts at that stage. So, again, that was the stigma, the shame, not wanting to ask for help. Being a Scottish guy anyway, we're not kind of typically known for talking about our feelings and opening up. So I never thought for a second to go to a friend or somebody else out with the family and say, look, I've got this massive gambling problem. I don't know what to do about it. I don't think there was any kind of signposting out there other than, I'd heard of Gamblers Anonymous, but while that obviously works really well for some people, I think in my case that it was so focused on my relationship and making that promise to Sharon, I felt I could do it without Gamblers Anonymous. If she'd asked me to go along, I would have done, but I felt, one size doesn't fit all. And for me, it just felt like I could get on top of it, in a different way. So the debts, I managed to, initially it turned out to be a bit of a nightmare because I got referred to a scheme that was basically just paying the interest on my debts. And it was government endorsed, the UK government that is. So I felt really failed and let down by that. And it's only when I went to the advice shop in Edinburgh and got some really good advice that they managed to kind of manoeuvre me into the debt arrangement scheme. And I had a debt management plan, and finally I was able to start paying my debts off rather than just the interest. And, they did all the negotiations with my creditors as well to kind of, pay. It was, I can't remember what the percentage was. It might have been 75% or something like that, but it wasn't, when we got towards the end, we were able to come to a settlement, but it was about £40,000. It was a huge sum of money, and I still look back with a wee bit of, not a wee bit, I'm quite shamefaced about the wastage there and how reckless and inconsiderate I was that to kind of to lose all that money. It's, you kid yourself on as a gambler sometimes. You maybe see that you're in debt 6,000 or 7,000 at one place, but you don't, you almost resist, try to tot it all up to see how bad the picture is. You cling to any last positive that might be there, rather than just face the blunt truth and see how bad it is. And, it's a real hammer blow when you see the losses that you've stacked up. So yeah, that's really it. I've had, certainly in the last few years, I've started reflecting far more and analysing it a wee bit more. I'm interested in the psychology of gambling as well. And, I do think I have that addictive personality and gene, which didn't help things. I was surrounded in my own family. My brother he was always talking about gambling and horse racing, and my peer group as well, probably. And I played football, so in the dressing room, it was very much the talk of the dressing room, fixed odds coupons. It was always around, and my job was sport as well. So I just got, completely sucked into that way of life, that I was forming opinions all the time on what would and wouldn't win. And, backing myself to make money on that, and often, getting it wrong, as every gambler does. It's, horse racing, they're not machines, they're flesh and blood. Football, is known. That's why the bookmakers prosper. There's always shock results. It's, you kid yourself on that you might beat the bookies, but it's, there's only one winner at the end of the day. And, again, I wouldn't discourage somebody from having a bet. I would just like them to be aware that there's another side to gambling, and you know, there can be harm associated with it. It can break up relationships. It can affect you mentally. I know of people that used to be in my gambling circle, if you like, that I would see in betting shops, and they were on racetracks that took their own life because of the debts that they ran up. And they were kind of lauded as brilliant gamblers back in the day, you know, fearless gamblers that had huge wins, but, you know, they too, their luck ran out, and, you know, they found themselves in such a desperate and dire situation that they felt that was their only way out. And that's tragic, you know, absolutely tragic. And, I'm just grateful that, you know, I never got to that stage, but who knows without that intervention where it was going to take me.
Thank you so much for telling me your story. Can I just ask sort of a couple of follow-up questions? Can I ask you, so you're the first person I've actually spoken to who bet on betting exchanges, actually. I've spoken to a lot of sports bettors, but not people who've used betting exchanges. Do you mind just telling me some more about what attracted you to using betting exchanges as opposed to sort of more traditional forms of sports betting?
Yeah, I think at the time, it was just a novelty. It was like nothing that had come before. It was probably, you know, something I'd always dreamed of being able to take other people's bets, and I was attracted by all the mechanics of it, you know, how, you know, sitting on a website and all the different sports, just being able to go from one tab to another to keep track of your, electronically, what you're winning, what you're losing, what you've laid, all your active bets. It just really appealed to me at the time as a kind of more, imaginative way of gambling, and it was attractive to me rather than just going in to a bookmaker's, putting down your money, be it each way on a horse or a lucky 15 or a fixed odds coupon. This new way of gambling was really, really kind of floated my boat, especially the in-play element as well. You know, I really liked that you could, you know, I got really into it, that I worked out, you know, wasted way too much intelligence in doing it. But, you know, if I'd backed a couple of horses in a sprint race, for example, as soon as straight from the off, you could put in play bets at 100 to 1 on to lay it off, or you know, 105 as it was on the betting exchange, 20 to 1 on. So if your horse got pipped in the shadow of the post, you're going to get that money back. You know, it's like an insurance policy. So you know, just all those kind of permutations and possibilities, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, because what quickly became clear on the betting exchange and the nature of in-play was that happened quite often. You know, there's horses that could be out to some even 1,000 to 1 could win, because some people's computers were quicker than others, and you know, you had to have good technology for that to work. So yeah, it just took betting to a whole new level for me. And it was clever. I think the marketing was very clever at the time. It was kind of billed as the thinking man's way of betting, and kind of, you know, the odds were better too. They didn't take taxes in the way they do now either. It was tax free at the time. They did take a small commission. It was easy to get your money in and out. It probably, haven't really thought about it this way before, but it probably played very nicely into the kind of secret nature I was developing, because I didn't like sharing with people that I was doing this. I either didn't like it or I wanted to cover it up. You know, it really does feed into the stigma that I don't want people to know that I'm gambling. Certainly to this extent, it's kind of, you know, somebody might say, well, you know, challenge it. Like, do you really gamble that much? Do you really win that much? Do you really lose that much? I was just really private about it. You know, I think people knew I had a Betfair account, but they wouldn't know anywhere near that. There'd be days that I bet on every single horse race in Britain, and maybe